Hi, my name is Mark Palomino and this is my Turning Point video. I want to tell you a little bit about myself, but first I want to cover 5 things that Robert Greene says in his book called Mastery. Now, the first strategy that he talks about for finding your life's task is the primal inclination strategy. This strategy talks about a particular moment in your childhood that everybody shares, well, not shares, but that has, and that's something that we felt really powerful doing as a child. So in his book, he says, quote unquote, sometimes this inclination becomes clear through a particular activity that brings a sense of heightened power. And this is something that I can personally resonate with myself because as a child, I was personally responsible for creating a banner for a field day. And through that, I spent maybe 30-45 minutes, whereas my other classmates only spent 2, maybe 5 minutes doing their part. So even from a little child, I remember creating things with my hands, which is something that I personally want to do in my career path is being a creative manager. I want to put a team together and I want to create new ideas and just put things together. Now, the second point that Robert Greene talks about in his book called Mastery is the Darwinian strategy, which he mentions is we take one idea and then another idea and then we put it together and form something new. So, for example, a new career path that would come about from two contracting careers and creating something entirely new out of it. So that's one way of finding our life's task. The another strategy is called the rebellion strategy. Now, in this strategy, Robert says that first, realize that you chose the path you are currently on for the wrong reasons before your confidence takes a hit. Second, rebel against any force that may be pushing you from your true path. In his book, Robert Greene talks a little bit about Mozart and his upbringing and how his father wanted him to be one thing and then Mozart just really didn't feel passionate about it. And for the longest time, he didn't understand why. So after going with his father's wishes for a long time, he finally rebelled and formed his own path. And that's when he really started making a career out of his gifts. So the rebellion strategy is really tied to his story as well. Now, the next strategy is called the adaptation strategy, which really, in his book, he says that, quote unquote, you are not tied up to a particular position. Your loyalty is not to a career or a company. Now, a reason that I found this really striking is because a lot of people go into a career and they think to themselves that this is something I need to stick to, but it's not necessarily the case, as Robert Greene mentions in his book. Now, the next strategy is called the life or death strategy, which Robert Greene says your frustration will guide you back to where you belong. So along your career choice somewhere, a lot of people find themselves up against a wall, not knowing what to do, and this is what he says is that voice that brings them back to something that they're supposed to do. Now, there's 2 goals that I want to achieve in the next 3 weeks to help me with my mastery path. The first goal is applying for a new position that uses my skills, which I'm doing right now. And the second is to start a drawing a day for the next year, which I've read a lot of stories and I feel like that's going to really help me out. Now, as I said before, I really strongly feel passionate about being a design marketing manager, and that's where I hope my career will take me.